If you can understand what's happening in this Ethereum chart right now, then you have the potential to understand every chart going forward and how to make money in cryptocurrency. If that sounds good, guys, hit that like button. Let's get into the video. I'm making this video because I'm tired of seeing every YouTuber showing us things like this is a rising wedge and blah, blah, blah. These patterns do exist, but the human brain does love to see a pattern, and we'll try and find a way to make a pattern fit. Now, I want to show you why this is a silly pattern, because up here, this was a breakout, and many people probably jumped in on a buy right there, and now look at them in a world of hurt. On the flip side, people probably thought that this was a break towards the downside, and then lo and behold, it rips up against them. Okay, so I'm not telling you necessarily to day trade, but everyone going, when do I buy this? When do I buy whatever? Well, guys, to put it very simply, look at this run that we've just had. Okay, when we have huge runs like this, you want to be very cautious about jumping in to markets where we've just had pumps like this. Because every time the price goes up, you get fewer people who are prepared to buy and more people who are prepared to sell. That means that ultimately the price gets weaker and eventually you'll have a push down towards the downside. But before we jump further into more chart analysis, I'll talk about this piece of news, because this piece of news is going to decide whether we're going to get into a bull market properly, I think, or whether we're going to potentially see a bear market continuation. And that is this over on CNBC. Key inflation data in the week ahead will offer clues to the future Fed rate moves and the market's path. This is insanely important. And the reason it's so important is this is the US dollar, okay? This was the US dollar going up, and what caused basically Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market to go down and form a huge bear market. Then we've seen the US dollar declining in recent weeks, and that's caused crypto to see upside push. But notice in the last few days where we've seen Bitcoin and everything take a drop, the US dollar has been pushing towards the upside. Now you're probably wondering, well, what's the inflation got to do with the US dollar? And this is all very confusing. I understand. Inflation is effectively more money printing. And the problem with inflation is it makes everything very much more expensive. So when everyone's going shopping to buy their milk, eggs and whatever, everything costs exponentially more because the money they've got is now worth a little less because of all the money printing. Following so far? Well, there's one way to curb inflation, and that's to increase the interest rate. Now, increasing the interest rate does have a good positive impact on reducing the amount of inflation, but it does also cause other problems. It reduces people's ability to spend money because all their loans against houses and whatever become more expensive. It also means all those people who are out there borrowing money to buy Bitcoin and whatever else can no longer afford to do so because they're borrowing money that's costing them more money to pay off than previously. So if this announcement tells us that inflation is still rising, then we're likely to get the next Fed announcement to tell us that the interest rate is going to have to continue going up as well. And if that happens, then we're going to see the US dollar breaking through this line of resistance and returning up into this zone, this sell zone here, which will see Bitcoin, crypto, and the rest dump towards the downside. You mark my words, it all hangs on this meeting. Because if it turns out that inflation has been crushed and interest rates will no longer need to see an upside push, that means that we will see the US dollar get rejected here and fall to at least this next level down here before we see any more significant bounce. And in my opinion, that's going to see Bitcoin bouncing beyond this area and returning up to the $30,000 and beyond, at which point, instead of putting in lower highs each time, we will be putting in higher highs and breaking this downtrend once and for all to return into a big old crypto bull market. So jumping into Ethereum, we can identify maybe things that are going on right this second for Ethereum. Many people will believe that because of this rising wedge, that Ethereum will drop towards the downside. Why I draw these boxes on? Because what is more important than anything is the price of something. We need to understand to look laterally, horizontal levels, and understand where our real buy zones and where our real sell zones are. And instead of trying to pick single lines of resistance and support, we can build some information through zones. You can see that last time we were in this area, we dropped out this zone very aggressively. Notice we're starting to do that again. But what else is to pay attention to is where the support comes in. Because you can notice as well that we have bounced in this area before and pushed up. And now you can see that we are seeing strong pushes coming out of this zone. These are supply and demand zones. So basically, Ethereum is in demand when it's in this area, under current market conditions, and then it's in supply up here. It means that people aren't really willing to buy it up here. They are more likely, however, to sell it. But if we can see a significant bounce here, we are more than likely going to see a continuation higher towards the next zone, okay? And this is our next zone up here. So how do I know that this area or this time is perhaps different from this time? Well, I'm looking at the interaction of the price within this box. Now you can see that in the past we had good interaction with this box and we did push out of it. But we need to then understand what's happening in the market right now. And now the market's signaling to us that potentially we are going to see a drop in interest rates, as I think the inflation rates won't be quite as bad. We'll see us bouncing and continuing to higher levels. Therefore, right now, I would say that Ethereum is in a good buy zone if I'm just looking to accumulate. However, what's really weird is in my Telegram group, just linked down below, people have always been telling me, oh, we've been buying up here, and it's really busy in that group when the prices are pumping because everyone wants to know what's going on. You get a few days like this and everyone goes quiet because they're not paying attention anymore, because they don't look at their accounts. I understand the concept, but this is really where I want to be buying. I don't want to be buying at the top of these big pushes towards the upside because I don't know whether it's just going to rip against me or not. What I'm looking for is it to establish a zone of support. We can see that multiple times it's wicked into this area and then it's pushed out. So there's two scenarios that are going to play out right now. And yes, two scenarios, one is up and one is down. And it all hangs in the balance on what happens in that news. So what I need to work out is whether or not I can stomach the results of either happening. If we get an idea from the Fed that interest rates are perhaps going to start to come down, then we're going to see Ethereum pushing to at least around the $2,000 level. I think well beyond that as well, but let's say in the shorter term, $2,000. However, if we get any sort of an indication that the interest rates are likely to continue to go up harder, then we're looking into this area through here. Why this area is important to me? Well, now we want to look down to the next level. We don't find any support and resistance coming up through this because it came up so quickly. So what we can look for is previous lines of resistance here. And if we drag this box across, is it of interest? Well, yes, because last time it came down below it and we bounced into it, showing previous resistance. Here we came down just above it, support area. Here we had kind of like a bit of sideways action, but caught with it in this band. We know that this is the next area of interest. So potentially from here, my worst case, in my opinion, Ethereum worst case is down maybe 12%. But in the shorter term, again, looking upside, then we're looking at 33%. So I'm looking at this as a good opportunity to be buying cryptocurrency rather than buying on a big spike towards the upside where I don't know whether in the next hour or so I suddenly see 45% drop towards the downside. Literally, you can come across to tradingview.com. It's absolutely free. There are paid versions, but you really don't need them, okay? And you can draw your boxes across to understand where we are right now. So we end up not panicking and diving into massive green candles, or in this case, black candles towards the upside, right? So we don't want to be diving in on huge buys. When the market is booming towards the upside, we don't want to be buying, right? Because chances are we're going to get a pullback. But what we're looking for is pullbacks. We've got a nice pullback going on right now. I do think that we are going to see positive news this week, but I could be wrong, so always go wait and do your own research. If, however, the news is negative, then we look to get into a short position where we can sell against the market and make money even when it's going down. And how do I make money from shorting the market? Well, guys, I go across to Fairdesk, which is linked down below in the description, where you get up to a $600 bonus, and then I can come across here and I can short the market. If, however, I don't know how to trade or I'm inexperienced, then I can click on the copy trading section and I can copy an experienced trader who is looking to short the market when that occurs, and I will make money when they make money. Obviously, not without risk, so don't use any money that you can't afford to lose. Guys, I've also mentioned my Telegram group, which is linked down below. Make sure you get into that. Every day we're talking about potential opportunities within that space. If you enjoyed today's video, hope you did, hit the thumbs up button for me. And if you're new to the channel, then subscribe, and I will see you in the very next video.